Have you ever met someone who opposes everything you stand for, and yet you can't stop thinking about them? This is the story of Mia and Rory. Mia Wu adjusted the angle of her Mont Blanc pen, frowning as she reviewed Rory Keefe's latest sketches for the Four collection. The silk was too expensive, the cuts too avant-garde, the color palette too daring. As usual. This, Mia said, tapping a crimson-inked circle around a plunging neckline, would alienate half our buyers. Rory leaned back in his chair, the late afternoon sun catching the auburn in his curls, casting a fiery halo around his head. He looked like a Renaissance angel with a temper. The other half would fall in love with it. "You don't win hearts by coloring outside the lines," she said, her voice cool, composed. She adjusted the sleeve of her sharply tailored jacket, then flipped to the next sketch with practiced indifference. "You win profits," he countered, sitting up now, eyes gleaming with passion. "But you don't build a legacy by being safe." They stared at each other, the quiet between them taut as a drawn thread. It was the same silent battle they fought every season: form versus function, vision versus viability. Mia exhaled, deliberately calm. "The board doesn't want legacy right now. They want numbers. Stability. Post-pandemic markets are volatile, Rory. Shareholders are already asking about margins and cost overruns." "I know what they're asking," he said. "But they're also not sitting in the front row at Paris Fashion Week. We are. We set the tone. And we're not going to trend by recycling last year's waistlines and color blocks." "I don't care about what's trending on Instagram," she snapped. "You should," he said sharply. "The Gen Z market is Instagram. They want drama, opulence. They want to be seen." "This neckline," he leaned over, tapping the design she'd just rejected. "This says power, confidence, edge. This says I'm not afraid to take up space." Mia pursed her lips. "It also says expensive construction, higher labor costs, and increased return risk. You think I don't factor in the artistry? I do. But we don't have the luxury of indulgence. This isn't your old gallery in the Lower East Side. This is Iris Couture. Global. Public. That's exactly why we can't afford to play it safe," Rory said, voice rising with fervor. "Do you know how many new lines launched in the last 2 years? Micro-brands with no overhead, just social virality and a bold aesthetic. We have heritage, sure, but if we don't evolve, if we don't take risks, we'll become irrelevant." Mia stood, moving to the window, watching the last light of day slip over Manhattan. "What you call risk, I call recklessness. And what you call safety," Rory said quietly, "is starting to look like fear." She turned, stiffening. "Careful." But he didn't flinch. "I respect you, Mia. You're the reason this company is even in a position to take chances. But you didn't hire me to sketch stock options. You hired me to create." Mia stared at him for a moment. The room hummed with tension. His sketchbook was still open between them, the plunging neckline daring her from the page. "I didn't hire you," she said at last. "The board did." Something flickered in Rory's expression. Surprise, maybe hurt, but he covered it with a lopsided grin. "Touché." She sat back down, smoothing her skirt. 3 pieces, that's the compromise." 3? His brow lifted. "Out of 40? They go into the final line only if focus groups respond positively. And only if we can scale production without breaking budget." He paused, then gave a slow, sly smile. "Make it 4. I'll throw in something wearable, just for you." She sighed, but there was the barest hint of amusement in her eyes. "Fine, but not a single ruffle, Keefe." "No promises," he said, already flipping to a new sketch. "You'll thank me when Vogue calls it revolutionary." She didn't say it aloud, but part of her hoped they would. Enjoying this story? Consider subscribing to our Romantic Heart channel for the best original romance audiobooks. Leave a like and tell us your thoughts in the comments. We love hearing from you. Now, on to the next chapter. Chapter 2. The Dress. Mia Wu, CEO of Iris Couture, alumna of Wharton, daughter of high-achieving Taiwanese immigrants, had spent her life mastering rules and beating expectations. Rory Keefe was her exact opposite. Artistic director, Irish-American, a former painter with a taste for Berlioz and Baudelaire, he believed rules were meant to be broken. Unfortunately, the board thought they were magic together. And so, when the Met Gala invitation came in with the theme Gilded Glamour Reimagined, it was the board that insisted. You two will go together, the heads of Iris Couture. Our power couple, strictly in fashion terms, of course. Mia nearly said no, that is until she saw Rory's grin. He loved it, the theatre of it all. Worse, he insisted on designing her gown. Not a suggestion, he had said, when he'd handed her a sketch with velvet fabric swatches attached. It's happening. The sketch lay flat between them on the long marble conference table, its metallic ink catching the overhead lights, molten gold draped in folds that mimicked Baroque columns, with sharp origami-like pleats fanning across the bodice. It was a marvel of engineering and emotion, a dress built not just to be worn, but to be remembered. Mia stared at it like it had insulted her. I said something understated, she said finally, voice clipped. You said elegant, Rory countered, leaning forward, his elbows resting casually on the table. And this is elegance. Just elevate it. It's a spectacle. It's the Met Gala, Mia. The whole night is a spectacle. You want to wear a blazer and slacks. That's next door at the Finance Awards. She gave him a flat look, but he could see the way her fingers lingered on the velvet swatches, the way her eyes kept drifting back to the architectural folds of the skirt. It's impractical, she said. Too structured. It'll take 3 assistants just to get me down the carpet. So, take 4, Rory said, grinning. You're the CEO of a fashion empire, not a school principal. For once, let them gawk. I don't want gawking. I want control. You'll have it, he said, tapping the sketch. This dress controls the room. It doesn't enter, it arrives. Mia didn't respond right away. She traced the hemline with one manicured nail. The lines were fierce and elegant, bold, yet refined. Every angle was precise, just like her, too much like her. This whole idea is ridiculous, she said, standing up, smoothing her blazer, playing pretend for the cameras, power couple branding, like we're some kind of fashion fairy tale. Rory leaned back, watching her. You don't like pretending? He asked lightly. I don't like being told what I am, she said. By the board. By media. By you. His smile faltered just slightly, but he recovered. Fine. Don't think of it as pretend. Think of it as performance art. One night, one look. A moment. You and me, making a statement. Together. Together, she repeated, almost mockingly. That's what they all want, right? The genius designer and the stone-cold CEO. Style and strategy. Like we actually get along. We don't have to get along, Rory said softly. We just have to look good together. She didn't answer that. Couldn't. Instead, she crossed to the windows overlooking Manhattan, the skyline a mosaic of steel and promise. She folded her arms tightly. You didn't need to go this far, she said, her voice quieter now. You could have pulled something from the archives. We have decades of gowns. I didn't want to pull something, Rory said behind her. I wanted to create something. For you. She turned slowly. His eyes met hers, calm and open. No flirtation, no bravado, just truth. And that was what made it harder. The gown wasn't just a dress. It was a confession he didn't quite know he was making. You designed this like you were trying to say something, she said, her voice barely above a whisper. He blinked, caught off guard. I was trying to design something worthy of you. The room felt suddenly smaller, The air too thick. Mia looked down at the sketch again. All at once, it felt impossible to breathe. "You've made your point," she said briskly. "I'll wear the dress. But don't expect me to enjoy it." Rory tilted his head, watching her carefully. "You already do." She shot him a warning glance. He grinned. "Just a little." "You're insufferable. You say that like it's new." She tried to smother the twitch at the corner of her mouth. "One night," she said. "One event. Then it's back to normal." "Sure," he said, standing and collecting the sketch. "Just one night, where you'll look like a goddess made of gold, and I'll be the idiot who put you in it." He walked out, his steps light, whistling some obscure piece of opera under his breath. Mia remained by the window, staring down at the sketch still imprinted in her mind. Just one night, she told herself again, but her heart, traitor that it was, had already started counting down the days. Chapter 3: Metamorphosis. The dressing suite at the Carlisle was awash in soft light and muted luxury. Stylists flitted like moths around Mia, fixing the final touches. Tucking a loose strand of hair, smoothing a pleat, adjusting the fall of a golden silk train that gleamed like liquid sun. Rory stood just outside the room, hands in his pockets, trying and failing to look nonchalant. He heard the stylists murmuring inside. One gasped, another whispered, "Oh my God," then silence, then her voice, flat, impatient. "I said no photos until we're in the car." The door opened. Rory looked up and forgot how to breathe. Mia stood there like a vision torn from myth. The gown clung to her like it had been poured on, each golden pleat sculpted to accentuate strength and movement. The Baroque-inspired neckline framed her collarbones like a crown. Her usually restrained bun was softened, a few strands loose to frame her sharp, elegant face. She didn't look like the Mia Rory he sparred with across boardroom tables. She looked like someone who could bring kings to their knees. "Say something," she said, arms folded, her usual armor of indifference firmly in place. Rory blinked. His voice cracked. He cleared it. "I've never seen you like this." "I wear dresses," she said coolly. "It's not a revolution." "No," he said, "but this one's different. You're—" He trailed off, unable to finish. She arched an eyebrow. "I'm what? Overdressed? Over budget?" "Beautiful," he said. The word hung in the air, uninvited but irrevocable. Mia's posture didn't change, but something flickered in her eyes. Uncertainty, maybe even vulnerability. "We should go," she said, after a moment, brushing past him. "The board's expecting pictures by midnight, and Anna Wintour doesn't wait." Rory turned to follow her, still stunned. "You're not going to say anything? About what? The dress? The design? Me, maybe?" She paused just inside the elevator. "You want praise, Keefe?" "I want honesty, Wu." She faced him squarely. Her lips parted, then closed again. For once, she didn't know what to say. He stepped in beside her, the elevator doors sliding shut, like a curtain dropping on a stage. She finally spoke, voice low. "I hate that I love it. The dress." She didn't look at him. "All of it. This night. The theater. The way you made me look like—" Her voice dropped even lower. "Like someone I'm not sure I know how to be." Boy's gaze softened. "Maybe she's someone you've always been. You've just never let her out." She turned to him, searching his face. The elevator chimed. Ground floor. The moment passed. The doors opened to the flash of cameras, the roar of paparazzi, and a night that would change everything. Chapter 4: The Gown and the Gala. The red carpet stretched like a river of fire up the steps, winding between screaming fans and camera flashes. The theme was gilded glamour reimagined, but no one had imagined anything quite like the duo from Iris Couture. Mia Rory emerged from the black car first, a vision in molten gold. The crowd gasped. Photographs surged forward like a tide. Rory stepped out behind her in a sharply tailored black tuxedo, a gold origami pocket square mirroring her pleats. When he offered his arm, she hesitated, but only for a second. Click, click, flash. The moment was already immortalized. Power couple, someone whispered behind a camera lens. Magic together, someone else said. They didn't speak as they climbed the steps, because they didn't need to. Every movement was synchronized. A performance. Perfect. Inside, the energy shifted. The museum glowed with chandeliers and old money. Fashion royalty floated past in diamonds and avant-garde feathers. Champagne flutes clinked. Strings welled. Mia's back was straight. Every step calculated. But she was aware, acutely, of Rory beside her. Not just the weight of his presence, but the gravity of it. Like he was grounding her. Or maybe, finally, letting her breathe. They were halfway through the main hall when the first cut came. Stunning, cooed Genevieve Lang, creative director of Maison Renard, her French accent as cool as her diamond-studded gloves. Mia, darling, you've never looked more human. Mia smiled tightly. Well, that's the goal, isn't it? Oh, don't misunderstand. I meant it as a compliment, Genevieve said, sipping her drink. Though, I must admit, I assumed you'd wear something a bit more safe, conservative. The kind of thing that says, I sign checks, not statements. Mia opened her mouth, but Rory stepped in, casual as ever. Ah, Jen, he said, placing a hand lightly on Mia's back. We all know safety is for people who haven't had a new idea in 5 years. Genevieve's smile curdled. Another designer passed, a smirking Brit with a pinstripe cape and glitter eyebrows. Didn't know Iris Couture was doing theatre now. Quite the costume. Rory gave him a faux sweet smile. You're right. It's called design with purpose. Something to aspire to. Mia, stunned, realized something as the barbs kept coming. The competition wasn't just sniping at her. They were sniping at him too. At them. Because they were afraid. She leaned closer. You enjoy this way too much. Please, Rory whispered back. I live for this. Then, softer. But I've got your back. Always. The words landed harder than she expected. Because no one ever had her back. Not really. Not without a price. Thank you, she said, quietly. He looked at her, surprised, and something shifted. His usual grin faltered. There was nothing playful in his face now, only sincerity. Later, they sat together at their table near the back. The Met inner circle was a tight knot at the front, A-list celebrities, donors, tastemakers, but Mia didn't mind. For once, she wasn't scanning the room for opportunity. She was watching Rory sketch on a napkin beside her dessert plate, tracing a line from the folds of her dress into some wild, new concept. You never stop, she murmured. Not when I'm inspired. She looked down at the sketch. That's not a dress. No, he said, meeting her eyes. It's a beginning. The moment held, a breath, a possibility. Before either of them could speak, phones buzzed, notifications, pings, messages. The picture of them on the Met steps, his hand on her waist, her eyes turned toward him, the golden light catching them just so, had gone viral. The power couple of fashion, beauty, and the businesswoman. What's really going on at Iris Couture? Mia's face tensed. This was exactly what I wanted to avoid. Rory frowned. It's just medium noise. No, she said, standing. It's scrutiny. It's assumptions. It's dangerous. For who? He asked. You? Or the version of you you've been selling for a decade? She turned to him sharply, hurt, defensive. He softened. You don't have to be her tonight, Mia. She looked at him, stunned. Then who am I? He didn't answer. He just held out a hand. And for a moment longer, she stood very still. Then slowly, with aching deliberation, she placed her hand in his. Chapter 5. Fallout and LaFleur. 2 days after the gala, the office buzzed louder than usual at Iris Couture. Assistants whispered, phones rang off the hook, social media mentions of Mia Wu and Rory Keefe had jumped by 300%. In her glass-walled corner office, Mia scrolled for a stream of headlines. Iris Couture's golden couple shines at the Met. CEO Mia Wu shows her softer side, thanks to Rory Keefe. Gold, gowns and glance, something more than business. She closed the browser. There had been no kiss, no statement, no late-night hotel scandal. But the public didn't care about facts. They cared about narrative. And the narrative was them. A knock interrupted her thoughts. Rory leaned in. Lunch? I have a meeting with the board. They can wait. She raised a brow. Okay, they can't, he admitted, stepping inside anyway. But I brought sandwiches. I figured we could eat while they panic about our social media explosion. I'm not panicking, Mia said. You're doing that thing where your voice gets clipped and you pretend this isn't affecting you. She gave him a long look. Fine, he said, unwrapping a sandwich. But for what it's worth, we looked good, and I didn't see you running from the cameras. Because we needed the coverage. The brand needed it. He smiled, teasing. Sure, you looked like you hated every second of that spotlight. Mia sipped her tea, ignoring the warmth in her cheeks. We're not doing it again. What? Dressing up? Or pretending we're a couple? Both. He paused, watching her. You know, Mia, I used to think you just didn't like me. Now I think maybe you like me a little too much. Her hand froze on the teacup. He chuckled to break the tension. Kidding. But her silence lasted a beat too long. He cleared his throat. Well, I've got a fitting with LaFleur. LaFleur? She asked, too quickly. Yeah, big new role, red carpet premiere, the usual chaos. She asked for me personally. I see. It's one dinner, he said, still casual. Just business. Mia gave a small, sharp smile. That's what people say right before it's not just business. Rory raised an eyebrow. Would it matter if it wasn't? No, she said immediately. Too immediately. He studied her. She turned back to her desk, pretending to shuffle papers. Have fun, Keefe. Always do, he said, and walked out. The bistro was tucked away on a narrow cobbled street in the West Village. Barely marked, with ivy curling over its signage, and a hostess who knew to speak softly. It was the sort of place publicists recommended with the illusion of privacy, but the guarantee of being seen. Rory Keefe didn't notice the camera outside. Or if he did, he pretended not to. Inside, candlelight licked against the wine glasses. He sat across from LaFleur, the platinum-haired darling of indie cinema, who was currently halfway through a glass of Burgundy and had just removed her coat to reveal a backless ivory blouse that shimmered like cream under moonlight. She leaned forward with the easy confidence of someone used to being watched. So, she purred, her voice smoky with flirtation. What's the plan for Venice? Rory smiled, that crooked, wolfish grin that made women tilt their heads and blink twice. Burlap sack? Fringed with moss? Perhaps a touch of irony? Lily laughed, a real one. You wouldn't dare. You love a dramatic entrance too much. Maybe. He twirled his wineglass by the stem. But I also love surprise. You mean seduction. I mean storytelling. He set the glass down, fingers still resting on the base. Picture this. You step out onto the red carpet just as the sun hits the water. Your liquid silver, charmeuse, cut on the bias, a whisper of a train. No jewelry, no fuss, just light, reflection, and, he waved vaguely, divinity. Really tilted her head. So, I'm not a woman anymore. I'm a concept. A divine one. He winked. She laughed again, but this time slower. And the neckline. Rory's eyes flicked across her collarbones. Off the shoulder, clean, like the moment before thunder. Her lips parted slightly. You talk about dresses like love letters. He didn't respond immediately, just smiled, almost sadly. Is that what the golden gown was? She asked, more softly. The one you made for Mia Wu? His expression shifted. Still charming, still smooth, but tinged now with caution. That was different. Because she's your boss. Because she's Mia. That hung between them for a second. Lily took another sip of wine. You know, the entire fashion world thinks you're secretly in love with her. He raised a brow. Do they? They do, she smirked. But I don't buy it. I think you just fall in love easily, with texture, with faces, with ideas. And what are you then? A distraction, she said breezily. A dangerous one. Outside, a car idle. Across the street, a figure crouched just low enough behind a trash bin to avoid direct notice, but high enough to catch a clean frame of the candlelight reflecting off Lily's skin and Rory's lazy grin. Flash. Inside, Lily lifted her glass again. To Venice, to scandal, and to falling in love, with the right dress, of course. Rory clinked his against hers, always with the dress. Chapter 6. Jade Green for Jealousy. The photo was everywhere. Rory Keefe and Lily LaFleur. Candlelight, couture, and chemistry. The caption read, Rory in a crisp white shirt, Lily laughing, her hand touching his. Mia stared at it on her phone, then closed the screen. She didn't cry. She didn't rage. She just sat there, very still, like a statue. Then, slowly, she whispered, Damn it. She paced her minimalist, immaculate penthouse. The skyline glittered beyond the glass walls. The city pulsed below her, alive and chaotic, just like him. She hated this feeling, this unknown thing tightening in her chest. She'd never allowed herself to want something she couldn't control. But she wanted him. And now, she might have waited too long. She sat at the edge of the bed and finally said it aloud. I'm in love with Rory Keefe. The words stunned her, but there they were, irrefutable and terrifying. She stood and crossed to her closet, pulled out the golden gown, still hanging, still perfect. It had never been just a dress. It had been a message. And now, she had to write one of her own. Mia Wu sat at her desk, hands folded like a general at war. The tabloid was open on her phone. The photograph was too perfect to be accidental. Rory leaning in, Lily laughing, candlelight, touches of bare shoulder and intrigue. Mia's jaw locked. Her phone buzzed. Messages from the board, reporters, investors. She ignored them all. When she looked up, her reflection in the office glass was immaculate as ever. But behind it, silence. Heavy and echoing. She hadn't seen Rory in 2 days. No dramatic entrances. No critiques about color theory or necklines. No arguments disguised as flirtation. Just silence. She had a company to run. She had a legacy to protect. But even empires had soft spots. And hers had red hair, stormy eyes, and a wicked smile that she missed far more than she'd admit aloud. Mia Rory didn't cry. She didn't indulge. She didn't spiral. She read spreadsheets like bedtime stories and negotiated distribution deals over green tea. Her life was a finely tuned machine. But that week, the silence at Iris Couture was unbearable. Rory wasn't humming in the design wing. He had stopped coming by her office entirely. She told herself it was better this way. Cleaner, professional, the way it had to be. But every time she passed the dress, the one he'd designed for her for the Met Gala, now displayed under glass in the atelier like a golden artifact, she felt it again. The flutter, the ache, the undeniable sense that someone had looked at her, not as an executive, not as a brand, but as a muse. No one had ever done that before, and now he was designing for LaFleur, giving her the same intensity, the same artistry, the same gaze. Mia hated herself for watching the red carpet coverage. But she did. Lily glided across the platform in Venice, silver and luminous, the silk clinging like water to her frame. The crowd gasped. Paparazzi surged. Rory stood off to the side in sunglasses, smirking, the very image of disheveled brilliance. And Mia felt like she'd been replaced in a narrative she didn't know she'd belonged to. That night, she left the office at 10 instead of midnight. She went home, took off her heels slowly, sat on her pristine white couch, and stared at the skyline. And for the first time in a long while, she didn't think about quarterly reports, or fabric margins, or shareholder satisfaction. She thought about him. The way he once told her she walked like a violin solo. The way his hands moved when he talked about pleats. The way he made her feel unstable, uncontained, and alive. She picked up her phone, typed his name, deleted it, typed it again, deleted it, again. No, this wasn't a text. This was something else. Chapter 7. The Woman Who Doesn't Do Dinner, Does Dinner. Rory was sketching alone, paper strewn across the drafting table, sleeves rolled up, curls falling into his eyes. He didn't hear her at first. Mia. Her voice was quieter than usual, unarmored. He looked up, surprised, hesitant. She stepped forward, holding a simple portfolio. "I've been thinking," she said, "about fall, about color, about risk." Rory raised an eyebrow. "You, embracing risk? Did the stock market crash?" "I'm serious." She set the folder down. "I've been wrong. About some things." He leaned back, watching her with new caution. "Such as?" She didn't look at him. "You don't build a legacy by playing it safe." A beat passed, then another. When she finally looked at him, there was no calculation in her eyes, just exhaustion. And hope. "I miss arguing with you," she said. "I miss the noise." Rory stood slowly, walked over, close enough to touch, but didn't. "I miss it too. And the dress," she added, too fast. "The gold one. You should know I hated it." He smirked. "Of course you did. Hated how much I loved it," she said softly. That stopped him. She looked up at him, just once, with something raw and vulnerable flashing beneath her practiced stillness. "I wasn't afraid of the dress," she said. "I was afraid of you." Rory blinked, slowly. "Still are?" "Yes," she whispered. He smiled, this time, gently. "Then we're both in trouble." The restaurant Rory chose was hidden again, with soft lighting, warm wood, and a wine list that read like poetry. Not the kind of place Mia normally went to, not the kind that had a valet or a curated Instagram following. No PR buzz. Just atmosphere, silence, shadows. A place you could disappear into. "I thought you didn't do dinner," Rory said, pulling out her chair. "I don't," she replied, smoothing her coat, "but apparently I make exceptions." He grinned. "Progress." She didn't smile back. Not quite, but the corners of her mouth betrayed her. The waiter brought a bottle of Nebbiolo without asking. Rory paused. "So," he said, swirling his glass. "No spreadsheets tonight?" "Only internal ones," she said dryly. "Dangerous." I'm aware. They ordered. He got the pasta. She asked for the sea bass, no butter. It wasn't awkward. It was strange how not awkward it was. Halfway through the wine, the conversation shifted. I was jealous, she said. Just like that. No warning. No build-up. Rory looked up, fork mid-air. When you went out with LaFleur, Mia continued. When you designed for her. When I saw her in your dress and realized how easily I could be replaced. You can't, he said simply. She blinked. I mean it, he said. There's no replacing you. Not in the studio. Not in the office. Not anywhere. A long silence passed between them. She reached for her wine glass again, but paused. I don't know how to do this, Rory. Do what? This, she said, gesturing at the table between them. Dinner? Talking? Not pretending I don't feel something. He sat back, looked at her for a long moment. Then don't pretend. She exhaled like someone releasing the weight of years. Outside, rain had started to fall. Gentle. Romantic, if you believed in that sort of thing. When dessert came, she let him order for her. Just once. A flourless chocolate cake arrived, with a dollop of creme fraiche and citrus zest. Trust me, he said. And she did. She took the first bite and made a sound so involuntary, it surprised them both. He laughed softly. See, life's better when you let go of the reins once in a while. She met his eyes, and risk chaos, and find magic. Chapter 8. All across the internet. The grainy photo appeared on Twitter at 6:12 a.m., posted by a waitress's friend's cousin, Mia Rory Keefe, at a candlelit table, laughing, her hand on his sleeve. By 8 a.m., #Iris Entwined was trending. By 9 o'clock, WWD and Vogue were requesting statements. And at exactly 9:17, Mia stood in her office, phone buzzing endlessly on her desk, and stared out at the skyline. She hadn't decided what they were yet. Lovers? Colleagues? Rivals in an empire they built together? But she knew this. She didn't want to go back to pretending. And maybe, just maybe, some love stories weren't distractions. Maybe they were the legacy. By noon, Mia had 3 missed calls from the board, 2 furious voicemails from PR, and a terse email from Iris Couture's largest investor asking for clarity on your relationship with Mr. Keefe. She ignored all of them. Sort of. She was sitting in the corner conference room, the one with the floor-to-ceiling windows and soundproof walls. Across from her sat Rory, one ankle resting on his knee, looking maddeningly calm. He wore sunglasses indoors, which she hated, and he was chewing a toothpick, which she hated more. The problem was, she didn't actually hate either. We have a situation, she said, keeping her voice level. Yeah, Rory replied. We had dinner. It was more than dinner. You know it was more. He took off the sunglasses. His eyes were darker than usual. No twinkle. No games. So what do you want me to say, Mia? That I regret it? I don't. Rory. Her voice cracked slightly. This isn't about regret. It's about perception. About the company. About everything we've built. He folded his arms. You mean everything you built? She looked up sharply. That's not fair. Isn't it? You built Iris to cheer like a fortress. I just decorate the walls. That's not true. She stood, pacing now. You're half the reason we're even relevant. You're the heart. But I'm the spine. I'm the one who makes sure we don't fall apart. He watched her carefully. And you think I'll make us fall apart? I think if we blur the lines, she said slowly, we risk everything. Our work, our legacy, what we stand for. You mean what you stand for. Discipline, control, perfection. You stand for rules, Mia. And you stand for what, exactly? She snapped. Chaos. Flotation in the middle of fabric meetings. Charming the press while I clean up the fallout. I stand for risk, he said. And I took one. On you. That stun. The silence that followed was jagged. It stretched for a long beat before Mia spoke again, quieter this time. You don't understand what it took for me to get here. How hard I had to work just to be taken seriously. If I slip, even a little, there's a line of people ready to replace me. I know, he said softly. No, you don't, she said, turning to face him. You can be brilliant and messy and adored for it. I have to be flawless every single day. He stepped closer, gently, carefully. And yet, he said, you let yourself be seen. That night, at dinner, you let me in. I did, she whispered. Do you regret that? No, she said, but I'm terrified of what it means. Another silence. Then, let's name it, Rory said. Let's figure it out. Not just the art, not just the business. Us. Whatever this is. She exhaled. We can't be reckless, she said. Not with the company. Not with our reputations. Then let's not be reckless, he said. Let's be intentional. She blinked. He stepped back, giving her space. I'm not asking for a secret, he added, or a scandal. I'm asking for honesty between us, a beginning. Mia didn't respond right away. She crossed to the window and looked down at the city below. Their kingdom, built on silk and spectacle, held together by meetings and mood boards and ambition. She touched the glass lightly, then turned. I need time, she said. He nodded. You've got it. And even though nothing was resolved, no press releases, no answers for the board, something in the room shifted. The dance had changed. No longer rivals, no longer safe. Now, there was something else, something that could shatter or soar, depending on what they chose next. Chapter 9. Public Previews. The spring preview was always one of Iris Couture's quieter events. A press brunch, editors from Vogue and Harper's, a few carefully selected influencers, nothing splashy, controlled, safe. Exactly the kind of event Mia had always preferred, until now. That morning she walked into the atelier early, alone, her stilettos echoing against the marble. She stopped in front of the gold dress, Rory's dress, still encased in glass. She stood there for a long time. Then she made a decision. At 11 o'clock a.m., the press preview convened in a luminous glass atrium in Soho, converted into an indoor garden. Editors sipped espresso, models lined up backstage. Rory paced behind the curtains, hands ink-smudged and anxious. Mia's gonna kill me, he muttered. Then he saw her and forgot how to breathe. She walked out like an aria, composed and radiant, wearing the golden gown from the Met Gala. No modifications, no softening, just architecture and firelight and steel. Whispers swept the room. She took the podium. Thank you all for coming, Mia said calmly, with a practiced smile. Before we begin, I want to speak to the headlines that have surrounded Iris Couture over the past week. Cameras clicked, phones rose. I have spent my career avoiding distraction, playing by rules, protecting a company that means everything to me. But fashion, at its heart, isn't about safety. It's about truth, about risk. She looked out at the crowd, and then directly at Rory. And so this, she said, gesturing to the gown, isn't just a dress. It's a collaboration, a conversation, a moment of honesty. She inhaled. I am proud to work alongside someone whose vision challenges me, whose talent elevates this house, and whose presence, both in design and in life, has made me reconsider what legacy really means. Rory's throat worked. He wasn't smiling, not yet. He was stunned. The crowd began to applaud. She stepped back from the mic, collected, powerful, then walked straight to him, backstage, through the sea of cameras and stylists and PR panic. I said I needed time, she told him softly. I used it. And? I'm done pretending. Rory reached for her hand. She let him. And if the board calls? He asked. They already did, she said. I told them the truth. Which is that we make each other better, and I'm not afraid of that anymore. For once, he didn't respond with a quip. He just held her gaze. A slow, reverent smile broke across his face. You know what that means, he said eventually. What? We have to design next season together, completely. No silos, no walls. She almost laughed. God help us. He lifted her hand and kissed it. Just once, just enough. Chapter 10. Coup de Paris. The Paris air was cool and crisp, tinged with perfume and anticipation. Outside the Palais de Tokyo, a crowd gathered. Editors, celebrities, stylists, bloggers, all buzzing with the promise of Iris Couture's full winter debut. Cameras flashed in staccato bursts as the black car pulled up. The door opened. First, a pointed heel touched the pavement. Gold, gleaming, architectural. Then came the woman who wore it, Mia Wu, regal in a structured sapphire cape gown, high collar sweeping behind her like a statement. Next to her, Rory Keefe emerged in a sharply tailored tuxedo, ink black, velvet trimmed, a crimson pocket square, folded like origami. The crowd hushed for half a second, then roared. Together, they walked the steps, step for step. A perfect contrast. Ice and fire, control and chaos, calm and storm. Inside, the runway was draped in mirrors and shadows, illuminated only by fractured light, like breaking dawn. 100 seats filled with the elite, phones ready, pens poised. Backstage, models in motion slipped into final looks. Liquid velvet, laser-cut metallics, hand-embroidered silks that shimmered like whispered secrets. Mia and Rory stood in the wings, behind the curtain, not speaking, just being. She glanced at him. You nervous? She asked. He smirked. Please, I'm Irish. I romanticize tragedy. She rolled her eyes, but smiled. We made it. No, he said. We're making it. Present tense. The lights dimmed. The music began. A bold, modern arrangement of Berlioz's Symphonie Fantastique. Their opening model stepped onto the runway, a look so sculptural it seemed to breathe. The crowd leaned in. Look after look emerged, each a conversation between structure and emotion. Angular coats with soft silk linings, asymmetrical necklines paired with classic silhouettes. It was Mia and Rory on fabric. Her precision, his poetry. In the front row, editors whispered possible headlines. Wu and Keefe have reinvented the romantic silhouette. Finally, a vision that's not nostalgia or shock, but evolution. They didn't just show a line, they told a story. Backstage, Mia stood still, one hand resting lightly on Rory's. He watched the runway, but he also watched her. Do you think they see it? She asked quietly. What? The love in it. He turned to her, more serious than she expected. They will now. The final model walked, gown like a living flame, backlit against mirrored panels. The room broke into applause. Real applause. No forced standing ovation, no polite murmurs. Thunder. When they stepped out for their bow, side by side, the room rose. Later that evening, Mia rested on the bed of their suite, eyeing the Vogue review on her tablet. Iris Couture's Paris Coup, Romance, Revolution, and Runway Reborn. She closed her eyes as the city sparkled beyond the windows of their hotel. Rory lay beside her, sketchbook open, humming under his breath. We broke the rules, she murmured. And rewrote them, he replied. And together, they dreamed of spring. Thanks for watching and listening to our story of Mia and Rory. We hope you enjoyed it. If you did, let us know in the comments what touched you. We love hearing from you. And don't forget to subscribe for more amazing original romantic heart stories.